And so on there, it identified it as an unmet need, as I was instructed to do by LOC. So that's where the unmet need comes from. I hope that answers your question, Delegate Crotty.
Okay, sure. So does that complete your presentation, Ms. Martin?
Yes, Chair, that'll be it.
Gashina, any other further questions, comments, committee members regarding Ethics and Rules Office and their budget?
This is Delegate Crotty, Chairman.
No, go ahead, Delegate Crotty.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification. I think I apologize. I didn't hear your whole report, and I apologize to the committee regarding that. I had a step out. I think what I'm looking for is there's always a concern about elected officials' conduct and behavior. What can we do? First, I always look at like prevention. So like education is in this budget. Is there something that we could look at? We'll do prevention. And now as we move to telecommunication, so it's not necessarily traveling or having conferences, but what can we do to have this ongoing like professional development for elected officials, including myself. I don't exclude myself from this conversation. And then the second area, and looking at your unmet need, I think in terms of if there's ever a time that you need to pull in outside resources to finalize some of these investigations, those are my two areas. Thank you, Chair.
Kashina, with that, any other questions or comments for Ethics and Rules Committee members regarding their budget?
Chair,
I'll turn it back. Vice Chair Smith, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. BNF committee members, and I understand that there's investigators. What kind of criteria do they have to have? I know that we just got done with public safety, and they have to maintain a certain number of hours, and they have to maintain either a post in order to be considered as law enforcement officers. Is that part of your performance criteria? I don't have it right on hand. I'm using the phone and stuff like that, but I'm just wondering if these investigators have to go to, or what's their background? Do they have to be ex-police officers or criminal investigators, and are there continuous training hours for them? CTE, as they call them. That's my question, Chair. Thank you.
Back to Ms. Martin. You have two questions from the delegates here. You would respond to it, Shiva? And with Shateja, Chairwoman Charles Liu, Law and Order Committee, if you would respond through your agent.
Honorable Smith, for those questions. I think those are questions that I can't answer, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to Ms. Martin. Ms. Martin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your questions, Delegate Crotty and Delegate Smith. As for the continued development, I think with anything, it's just a continuation and reminding of the ethics and government law. And our office obviously is obligated to do that and provide that to elected officials, even during this pandemic. And we're willing to do that if we do it over the phone, Zoom meetings, however we need to do that, we can provide that. And we're willing to do that. And I think it is important to do it on a somewhat regular basis. I think it was either January or February, we provided an update to the whole Navajo Nation Council And we don't mind doing that if everybody wants it like every year or every quarter. I think it's very good to have that as a reminder to everybody. And I have no problem with having my staff take care of that. As for outside resources, we do currently have individual, at least on contract for legal services to provide additional assistance. Because right now I don't have a presenting officer. That's our one position that is vacant. I did reclassify it to for a higher pay, and I'm hoping that I get some applicants for that position. But it's been open since at the end of June. So we're still kind of just a couple of months now since I reclassified it. So I'm hoping that it'll attract some individuals out there to apply. As for Vice Chair, your question regarding the investigators, they're not certified as police officers would be. However, for our job, our JVA requirement is that they have to have knowledge and experience in investigations. So right now, currently, my 3 investigators that I have on staff were actually former law enforcement. And the one that is coming on next week, he is also former law enforcement. They all have a background in that area. And I believe it's with the reclassification, I changed it to, it was either 4 years or 6 years, I changed it to have investigation experience. So they have, based on that, I think I have pretty significant background in that area. I hope that answers your questions.
Christina, thank you for that response. So back to your committee. Any further questions or comments?
Chairman Henyo, this is Delegate Crotty.
Go ahead, Delegate Crotty.
I'm just having a hard time finding your unmet needs Exhibit E. Can I just know what time that was sent out? I opened up the one that was sent out at 1 something, but I didn't see the Exhibit E. If I could get some clarification, thank you.
Hey, back to Ms. Martinez. Let's looking at your budget. Where is Exhibit E?
Thank you. I'm trying to recall when I submitted it or emailed it out the day after we had Law and Order. We presented it at Law and Order, so I believe it was the week before last. I can go back and have my office specialist resend it. I can have her send it to Ms. Nakai. But I do recall, I believe it was the day after we had we presented at Law and Order Committee. But I can have her resend it.
Chair, this is Delegate Charles Newton.
Go ahead, Chairwoman Charles Newton.
I can't, Shana. We at Law and Order Committee did stated at the beginning of this presentation, we did pass the budget form instructing the Ethics and Rules Office to change out or to present Exhibit E here at Budget and Finance so that we could make that amendment here. We haven't got a copy of Exhibit E as well. So at this point, the only thing that we know is the $890 difference is supposed to be reflected on Exhibit E. So with that, I'm going back on mute. Thank you.
Christina, thank you for that clarification. Back to committee members, it's so that we do not have Exhibit E to be presented regarding unmet needs. So any other further questions or comments, committee members? Then I'll call for the question on the Ethics and Rules budget. So Delegate Jimmy Yellowhair. Delegate Jimmy Yellowhair. Vice Chair Smith.
Green.
Christine Aldos-Natal, Delegate Amber Crotty.
Delegate Amber Kinnensvog-Crotty votes green. Thank you.
Christine Aldos-Natal, Delegate Nathaniel Brown.
Delegate Brown votes green.
Christine Aldos-Natal, Delegate Elmer T. DeGay.
Green.
We have 4 in favor. Chair not voting. Delegate Yellow Hair is not voting. That's all. Let's move forward to on that. Thank you, Candace, for presenting.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, members of the committee, and thank you, Madam Chair, for presenting our legislation.
That Department of Justice. Do we have Department of Justice representatives on the line?
Chair, this is Doreen McPaul. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Attorney General McPaul. Thank you for that. With this, we have you sent affirmation of oath to Peggy Clay?
Oh, we sent that.
Gashina. With this, Peggy, if you read this resolution into the record for us.
The legislation LOCAU-02-20, resolution of the Law and Order Committee of the 24th Navigation Council, second year 2020, and action relating to Law and Order Committee, approving and recommending to the Budget and Finance Committee the proposed fiscal year 2021 budgets for the Navigation Department of Justice. This resolution has been electronically read into the record, and the exhibits A through E are attached, and we do have hard copies of the budget, Mr. Chair.
Gashina, thank you for that reading. We have OMB on the line to do the budget summary report.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. This is Darlene Sam from OMB.
Okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chairman Henyu and members of the Budget and Finance Committee. Proceeding with the OMB report, you have the cover page, and then on the next slide is your table of contents, letter A through E, and going directly to A, which is your FY 2021 fund type budget summary. Next slide is your budget summary. There are 3 business units listed, general fund business units listed. For fiscal year 2020, approved budget is $8,367,815. Proposed for FY 2021, general funds $6,374,091. Indirect costs $1,893,724. Special revenue external $2,120,014. For a recommended budget of $10,387,829 for FY 2021. Then on to B is your FY 2020 third quarter budget status report. And the next slide shows the 3 business units, and this is the budget status report as of third quarter ending June 30th, 2020. And the 3 business units, the original budget is $8,367,815. Revised budget $9,085,151.31. Actual expenditure $5,030,724.53. Encumbrance of $55,943.72. Budget available $3,998,483.06. And the expenditure rate is at 55.99%, 1 asterisk indicating under expenditure by 67% or less. The remaining slides will be covered by Ms. Janet McCabe. Thank you.
Moving on to tab C, the Program Performance Assessment Report. Within the Department of Justice, there are 3 business units. I will read the bottom totals. Average scores. First quarter, 2.60. Second quarter, 2.87. Third quarter, 2.47. Again, the scoring is 3, exceeding goals and measures, 2, meeting goals and measures, 1, not meeting goals and measures, 0, no report. Moving on to tab D, the third quarter plans of operations status report. Again, 3 business units. There are the statutory references. Year adopted in 1990 for the Attorney General, 1993 Navajo Peace Legal Services Program, 2008 Office of the Prosecutor. And there are no conditions of appropriations or legislative concerns. That concludes the OMB report, Mr. Chair and members of the Budget and Finance Committee.
Okay, thank you for that report. With that, committee members, is there a motion?
Delegate Crotty will motion.
A motion by Delegate Crotty. Is there a second? Committee members?
Second by Delegate Begay.
Okay, second by Delegate Elmer P. Begay. We do have a motion and second. So is this any questions or comments for the OMB report?
Chair, this is Delegate Crotty.
Go ahead with your questions, Delegate Crotty.
Thank you, Chair. Just briefly, in looking at expenditures, there's a few line items, particularly the Office of the Prosecutor, that are, sorry, I'm wearing a mask, that are under expenditure. Can we just get an idea? Can we just get an idea of what's going on there? It's about about 47%. Thank you, Chair.
If that, we'll go to the Chairwoman Charles Newton, Law and Order Committee, through your agent, Ms. Mon.
Shanado, there's the Honorable Crotty for that question. I think a lot of our programs are actually at, I guess their expended rate or their COVID. But I will go ahead and let the Office of the Prosecutor explain that. Ms. McCall, do we have Jennifer Henry on the line?
Yes, Delegate Charles Newton, we have Ms. Henry on the line, and she's also emailed her oath to Peggy.
Okay, Shana, Honorable Hanyo, do you want to verify on the record first that Peggy has received her oath before I turn the floor over to her?
Okay, Peggy, have you received an email from Ms. Jennifer Henry?
Yes, Chair. Everyone at DOJ that's presenting testimony today has provided an affirmation of oath. Thank you.
Okay, back to our presenters.
This is Jennifer Henry. I am very happy to explain some of our failure to expend. They're primarily in personnel. You'll hear that what happened last year was we, the Office of the Prosecutor of the programs in DOJ, received full funding for personnel as opposed to some of the other percentages that DOJ received or allocated, and it was very generous. And in addition, BNF and the council approved sufficient personnel funds for the prosecutors to do a restructure, and that was fully a personnel restructure. What we intended to do was to superimpose the attorney pay grade over our prosecutors and other legal staff pay grade. So we worked on that. So we got a lot of personnel money to do that. We started working on that at the beginning of the fiscal year, ran into significant hurdles with DPM, which I'm happy to talk more about at any point today. And then COVID hit, and we were completely unable to do the majority of our restructure, which means that we were unable to expend all of those money that were given to us for the restructure. And you'll see that part of the vast majority of our unmet needs is seeking to obtain those funds again, because I am confident that we can get that restructure done, but we only got it partially done this past fiscal year.
With that, back to the committee. Any questions on the budget summary report?
Chairman Henio, this is Delegate Crotty.
Go ahead with your question.
Thank you. On the OMB report, on page 10, the plans of operations are shaded in. So it looks like we have a plan of operation from 1990, 1993. Those were my heyday years. I think if we could have a plan on how to get new plan of operations, and it looks like, although it's from 2008, a plan for the Office of the Prosecutor. Can I have that answered? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, back to OMB. Are you able to respond to that question?
Mr. Chair, I would like to defer that to the program.
Commissioner, thank you for that. Okay, back to our Law and Order Committee, our chairwoman, Delegate Charles Newton.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I believe these operations, they have been updated, they just have not gone through the committee. I believe that, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Madam AG, we did get an email, I want to say it was in February, and we were planning to address this in March. But that was right around the time that COVID hit. So my understanding is it is complete, but it just needs to go through the committee. But Madam AG, I'll go ahead and turn the floor over to you so that you can verify, or you can explain to what's going on with the plans of operations. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman Newton, and also Delegate Crotty for the question. That's correct. We had updated the plans of operation in March, and we were scheduled to appear before Law and Order Committee in April to provide a work session on our 3 plans of operation. And because of the pandemic and the government closure, we've not had those meetings with LOC. We discussed the plans of operation during our LOC budget hearings. And I know that Mr. Ottoso, as well as Chair Newton, are willing to sponsor legislation to get those plans of operation through the process. But we have updated them, and we have let OMB also know the status of those updates as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that response. Committee members, any further questions to the OMB report? Let's go to the move to the director's report. And with this legislation that's before us right now, Law and Order Committee, our chairwoman, Chairwoman Charles Newton, if you will introduce this legislation to the committee, and then from there you can yield the floor to your presenters. So you have the floor.
Yeah, Shana. Committee members, we do have we have 3 reports that will be presented to you. I'll go ahead and I'll begin with business unit 014001, which is the Office of the Attorney General. They are asking for a difference of $412,354. In 2019, the Navajo Nation Council approved $4,753,668. This year's proposed budget is $5,166,022. The general fund, their general funds is in the funding source for general funds is at $3,272,298 and direct cost of $1,893,724. I'll go ahead and go through all three of them, and then I'll go to the unmet needs. The next one is the Navajo Hopi Legal Service, business unit number 104002. They are asking for an increase of $77,426. 2019, Navajo Nation Council approved $22,211. This year's proposed budget is $299,637. This is all from 100% general funds. Navajo Hopi Legal Service does not receive any external funds. In addition, we also have the Office of the Prosecutor, business unit number 104005. They are asking, they are taking a decrease in the amount for this year. 2019 Navajo Nation Council approved the original budget of $3,391,936. This year, the proposed budget is $2,802,156 with a difference of $589,780. The Office of the Prosecutor does receive external funds. They have grants that they receive, and they have that listed in their budget summary. 50% of their funding sources come from general funds, and then the remaining amount does come from their external funds. So I'll have the Office of the Prosecutor go into depth about that information when it comes to their turn. The Office of the Prosecutor is, I believe they do have unmet needs requests. Their unmet needs are, they're asking for $4,104,995. That information is provided in the budget report. And I believe they're the only office at this point that is requesting for unmet needs. A majority of those unmet needs are to cover personnel costs. The Office of the Prosecutor does not have enough money to cover the personnel costs at this point. They can get through, I believe, half the year is what I have down in my notes, but they are asking for assistance to help address their personnel matters. So with that, committee members, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to Madam AG, and she can provide a better report on the budget and the request that her office is making. Madam AG.
Thank you, Delegate Charles Newton. I appreciate that. And I don't know that I'm going to give a better report, but I'm going to give a follow-up to your report. You did a really good job. And I just want to thank the Budget and Finance Committee for the hearings that you guys are doing diligently to get through this process for the fiscal year 21 comprehensive budget. As Delegate Charles Newton mentioned, DOJ has 3 business units for the Office of Attorney General, the Office of the Prosecutor, and for Navajo Hopi Legal Services Program. We do have our DOJ offices primarily here in Window Rock for Office of Attorney General. We have 34 legal staff and attorneys, as well as 16 support staff. Our Navajo Hopi Legal Services program is in Tuba City, and they are staffed with 2 attorneys and 1 support staff. They have 0 vacancies there. I forgot to mention that at Office of Attorney General for that business unit 001, we have currently 5 vacancies. And for Office of the Prosecutor, they are located throughout the Navajo Nation through the 11 districts. There are, through general funds, 16 legal positions and 17 support staff positions, and they currently have 13 vacancies. And just to explain the discrepancies between our last year's budget as well as our this year's budget, we did get allocated the exact same amount, but the way it's allocated within our business units changed, and I would like to be able to explain that. For our fiscal year 20 budget, we had a general fund allocation of a little over $6.9 million. For our IDC budget, we had a little over $1.3 million. And the way we budgeted last year, as you heard Ms. Henry explain, for the Office of the Prosecutor, we fully funded our prosecutor's office. We met with them to discuss their needs and what their unmet needs were to accomplish not just the restructuring, but Ms. Henry talked about, but some other important needs of the Office of the Prosecutor, and we made that decision to fully fund their needs so that they could accomplish those goals. We also fully funded their vacancies at 100% so they could hire and fill those positions to meet the public safety needs of the nation. What that did mean, though, however, is that we, for our Navajo Hopi Legal Services Program, we budgeted the 2 attorney positions there, which were at the time vacant, at 50% and 75%. And the committee may recall that Department of Justice Delegate Otto So sponsored a supplemental budget request in CJY 5120 in the amount of $55,000 in order to fully fund those positions for the remainder of this fiscal year. It also meant that we budgeted our attorney positions. Now when I'm not talking about vacancies, I'm talking about filled positions, non-vacant positions. We budgeted those at 80%, and we budgeted vacancies at 50%. And again, that was so that we could fully fund our Office of the Prosecutor. And last year, the Office of Attorney General for the budget unit 001 had an unmet needs budget of over $600,000, primarily in personnel expenses. So for fiscal year 21, with the exact same allocation total, we had actually a decrease in our general fund allocation of a little more than $500,000. We had a corresponding increase in our IDC allocation, our IDC dollars. And so what that means for fiscal year 21 is we could not fully fund our prosecutor's office the way we did the last year because of the IDC funding. We're told that we can't use that for our Office of the Prosecutor. So for our budgeting for this year, we funded our Office of Attorney General positions at 100% as opposed to 80%. We've budgeted our vacancies at less than 50%, and we have fewer vacancies than we had last year. We also fully budgeted the 2 attorney positions at Navajo Hopi Legal Services Program, so we won't have to ask for a supplemental request this year. And like I said, that means that there's less funding for Office of the Prosecutor. There's a corresponding decrease in personnel expenses for the Office of the Prosecutor for over $500,000. And our Office of the Prosecutor was forced to budget their vacancies at 50% or less for their prosecutors and attorneys. This certainly has a public safety impact. Our prosecutor's office has an unmet needs, primarily in personnel expenses. And at our Law and Order Committee, we were also asking for carryover so that those funds can be used to support our Office of the Prosecutor program for fiscal year 21. So that's an overall explanation of our budget, as well as the discrepancies from last year to this year in terms of increases overall and decreases overall. Thank you.
So Department of Justice, that's the extent of your presentation?
Chair, that completes my presentation unless I need to go over anything for purposes of the record from the budget form.
Okay. With this, I'll defer to the committee. Committee members, any questions or comments regarding Department of Justice?
Chair, this is Delegate Crotty. Chair, this is Delegate Crotty.
Do you have a question?
Hello. Yes, thank you. Sorry, I was on mute.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to wrap my head around what was just reported regarding the Office of the Prosecutor's personnel. I need some insight in terms of, I don't know if this is OMB, how is the IDC distribution, who's part of those discussions? Would it sound like there was a huge error in replacing some of the Department of Justice budget with IDC funding, and which has caused some issues now with being able to fund the prosecutor's personnel? That's my question, is regarding IDC. Thank you, Chair.
Question on that question. Any other questions, committee members? Anthony, I'll go back to Chairwoman Charles Newton for a response.
I can't. I believe that Ms. Henry or Ms. McCall may be better equipped to answer that question. I know that was a committee, but I'm probably just going to confuse everybody if I try to explain it. So, Ms. Henry, are you on the line?
I am on the line. Thank you, but I have to say, I plead almost complete ignorance. I have been speaking with people to help me understand how the IDC is calculated and distributed, and I don't understand it. We have always been told, Ms. McPaul and I, that the Office of the Prosecutor is not eligible for IDC, which is interesting to me only to the extent that we're also the only program that has grant money. So to the extent that the IDC is related to who administers grants, I don't know. I plead complete ignorance. In honesty, the true form of ignorance. So perhaps the Attorney General knows, or we can get someone to explain IDC. I've asked people and I just don't understand it.
Okay, is OMB still on the line?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, this is OMB, Darlene Sam.
Go ahead, Darlene. Sam.
I will try to respond, but I would need to ask one of our OMB expert on IDC to also provide a response. But just going by the budget instructions manual, I am at section 5, fund allocation. There it describes the indirect cost recovery and allocations. And it states that the recovery allocation of IDC is formula based. And I know that internally, the OMB office, there's a team. It's mainly comprised of contracts and grants. They have a team that meets with, if you recall, you receive a budget under the fixed cost, the IDC plan. They work with an outside group. That's the extent of my knowledge. They work with an outside group. It used to be NBC. I don't know what the consultant is called now, but they work with those individuals. And I believe in the team from OMB, there's also OOC and DOJ input as far as determining which programs are eligible for IDC recovery. And it's based on, to my understanding, it's based on programs that provide support to contract programs. So usually it's usually the central support programs such as OMB, DOJ, General Services, and those sorts of programs. So DOJ does get IDC, and it's just the only business unit that's identified to get it is the AG and not the prosecutor's office. That would be my response right now. So the individual here that knows of it is Rachel Arvizo. She's the designated person that's involved with these IDC pool distribution and so forth. Chairman Henyu, thank you.
Appreciate with that response, though, and the response from Department of Justice. Any other questions, committee members? But back to Shima Delgado. Any further questions regarding your question?
Thank you, Chairman Henyo. I'm in this little office trying to find this budget. What I would like, and yeah, thank you, Shima, for pointing out what's in the budget instruction manual. But I understand IDC in our recovery. The formula distribution seems to be there. It's not consistent. But right here, the issue is this budget has been swapped out. General funds have been swapped out for IDC, and what that has created. So that decision has created a deficit in the Office of the Prosecutor, which I agree then is an issue with our criminal justice system. So I need to know who the decision makers for that IDC were, and did they think about these policy implications when they're dishing out. I'm seeing haphazardly a little bit of general funds here sprinkled with a little IDC in all of these budgets. And what I'm saying is this is the first time that a program has told this committee that because IDC money is used, then they're not able to use it in the way that they need to meet their program. So I'm looking at the resolution and I'm trying to get a sense of what are the recommendations. Chairman Henyo, if you could call, I think this is where Dominic needs to get on the line. Attorney General can identify who on her team reviews IDC. And if we can't do it during this budget, that definitely is a hot topic that we need to discuss as a committee, knowing that the impact that it has. Because what I simply can say then is I want to take general funds from another program and give it to the Office of the Prosecutor, and then they can deal with the indirect funds. That's what I'm thinking in my head. And what program is that going to come from? I can either look for that, or I can, if OMB or the Office of the President, Vice President can make that recommendation. I think to have, just because the funding sources from IDC, that's we're taking 2 steps back in our process to fully fund the Office of the Prosecutor. I'll need your guidance as chair of Budget and Finance and my other committee members. Thank you.
Okay, with that, Ms. Darlene Sam, are you at the office there in Window Rock?
Well, what happened?
Yes.
Am I on the line? I'm sorry. I thought I got disconnected. What was the question? I missed it.
Are you there in the office in Window Rock? There's a way we can get this person that you referenced on the line to explain the IDC. It would be helpful to the committee.
Yes, that would be Ms. Rachel Arvizo. I believe she is in the process of calling in, and Mr. Bial is also here.
Okay. Okay, good. With that, Mr. Bial, are you on the line right now?
Mr. Bial is just now getting on call. Can you repeat the question for him, please?
Okay.
My understand. I'm sorry.
Okay.
My-
We'll go ahead, Sam. Go ahead.
My understanding of the question was, how are some programs eligible for IDC? Is that the question? And that will be addressed by Rachel Arvizo. However, in Ms. Crotty's response, she's asking differently, I believe.
Well, I think the bottom line is there are several offices that qualify for IDC money. But in this instance, why doesn't the Office of the Prosecutor qualify for IDC money, and that's where they would need that extra money?
Mr. Chair, this is Mel. May I respond to that?
Mel, if you would, help us out.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. In response to Honorable Crotty's question, I would just mention that it has to do with the uniform guidance, the federal OMB's uniform guidance, and that's in 2 CFR Part 200, subsection 435. So it's 200.435, and that prevents IDC. It prevents the non-federal entities from using IDC for prosecution and civil proceedings. So that's just a simple answer. In terms of in terms of how the percentages of the IDC pool are calculated, I would definitely defer to Ms. Arvizo on that. So I'll just go offline now.
I understand with that. Thank you, Mel. Office of the Management and Budget. Is Mr. Bial or Mr. Arvizo on the line?
This is Dominic Bial.
Hello, Dominic. If you would help us out with this question.
Okay, as I understand the question, Delegate Crotty is asking how the IDC is compiled and why it's not applicable to the prosecutors, correct?
Yes, that's the first part of the question there.
Okay. Well, just speaking generally, as soon as Ms. Arvizo gets on the line, she can go into more detail if need be. But generally speaking, remember, IDC is based and calculated on reimbursing the general fund for costs and expenses incurred in support of federal or external funds. So that's the bottom line basis for it, which is why programs like Controller, OMB, DOJ at the admin level, and a number of other programs all qualify because they have general funds and their actions and activities and services and operations support all of our federal grants and contracts that we receive. So, again, generally speaking, that's how it's figured. In the case of prosecutors, I'm not aware personally of how they incur costs and expenses in support of grants or contracts. Ms. Arvizo, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Okay, let me let Rachel explain it more thoroughly.
Chairman Henio, this is Delegate Crotty.
Go ahead, Delegate Crotty.
Yes, thank you. I do need to clarify my question. Thank you for the IDC background. My question is, in Exhibit A of this resolution, the Office of the Attorney General is receiving the same allocation from fiscal year 2020, but this year, funds, it's my understanding, and as reported, that general funds amount was reduced, but supplemented by indirect cost, which has now prohibited support to the Office of the Prosecutor. That's my understanding. And so my question was, who determines what indirect cost goes to the programs? Because I'm not seeing so much, well, I see a percentage, but this year, Department of Justice received more of indirect cost and less of general funds budget, which now creates a situation with the Office of the Prosecutor, is my understanding and what was reported. I don't know, Chair, if you want to go back to the Attorney General, Chief Prosecutor, to clarify that, and I'm willing to be wrong, but my understanding was it's how much indirect cost, the portion of their indirect cost budget is not allowing them to support the Office of the Prosecutor as they were able to last year. Thank you, Chair.
Janet, do you have Exhibit A?
Okay. With that, thank you for that clarification. I'll defer this to the Office Manager of Budget first. Ms. Arvizo?
I will defer that question to Mr. Bial because she's speaking to general fund allocations. I will say that once the indirect cost proposals are compiled, those are based on the Navajo Nation's audited financials, and for the 2020 fiscal year IDC proposal, that was based on 2017 audited financials. We do have a 3-year lag in our reporting according to the Interior Business Center, their recommendations. So in deciding who is in the contract support costs IDC pool, that is based on BNS authorization for the IDC proposals, and that's number one, the employees of the program has to be paid by general funds, Navajo Nation general funds. The other criteria is that the program or the office administers more than one externally funded contract or grant. And in the 2020 final proposal, I don't believe the prosecutor had any externally funded programs. There is a committee, an IDC committee based on staff combined from OMB, OOC, and DOJ that reviews the IDC proposals and make recommendations based on the expenditures, the consultant's review of everything. And so that's how programs based on their justification are included in the IDC pool, or if there's not enough justification or there's no expenditures in that appropriate year, then they're excluded from the financial and the IDC pool.
that in a nutshell is covering who is included in the pool and who is not. Chair.
Augustina, with that, Mr. Biel? Mr. Biel, are you there?
Yes, I am. Well, Chairman Henio, committee members, replying to Delegate Karate's question. Speaking about the general fund, remember the recommendation from the three branch chiefs and then the B&F committee was to stay with the 167 million, which is the same general fund level as fiscal year 20. Subsequently, all of the allocations to fixed costs, the three branches, chapters, and cash match are all the same too. So speaking on the general fund side, all of those funds stayed the same, except in cases where there was an IDC increase. So the Attorney General's office did get an IDC increase. So that was offset on the general fund side. The net is both the general fund and the IDC is the same for 21 as it is for 20. That was the logic and rationale that the President's office used in setting these allocations. Mr. Chair, I hope I answered the question.
Dr. Shina, and then I guess let's go back to the program as far as the allocations is concerned. So with this, Dr. Shina, Chairwoman Charles Newton, and to your agent, a response to Delegate Karate's question?
Yeah, I think that those are some really good questions. And I did myself ask that question about the indirect cost. And I think that Mel clarified a little bit because in my notes here, I have what are eligible programs. See page 6 of them. And I did underline that. And I think the clarification was provided. But I think there's still a lot of questions that we also at Law and Order Committee, we did ask about the indirect costs and then how those funds could be used. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my agent who, at this point, I don't know who was best to answer the questions posed by Shadeja Honorable Karate. So with that, I'm going to turn the floor over. I'm assuming it's probably going to be OMB, Mr. Bial. Thank you.
Madam A.G. McFall, do you have the response?
Thank you, Chair. I don't have anything more to add than what the OMB has already included and what Ms. Henry provided. We were just instructed that that was the way IDC works and that we couldn't use it not only for Office of the Prosecutor, but also we couldn't use it for Navajo Hopi Legal Services Program, that it was only for OAG in support of the work that on the civil side that the office does to support the rest of the Navajo Nation departments and programs that are administering, the 638 programs and those kinds of things. So I don't know that I have any more to add other than, I just really appreciate Delegate Karate's concern for this particular result. because, like I said, when we had the funding last year, we were able to fully fund our prosecutor's office, and we short budgeted ourselves, and we do that on a regular basis, and then try to fully fund ourselves when we get the IDC carryover dollars in January. So this kind of puts a wrench in how we normally operate and our commitment to our Office of the Prosecutor's Office to get their restructuring done and to have that impact on public safety. Thank you.
Bashina, with this, I'll defer back to the committee. Committee members, any further questions on Department of Justice?
Chairman Henyo, this is Delegate Crotty.
No, go ahead, Delegate Crotty.
Thank you. If there's any students out there that want to learn about our budgeting process, this is a great case study because I don't think when indirect costs are being allocated that anyone is thinking about the policy or the impact. So I need to know from the Office of the Prosecutor. I thought I had your hard copy budget. I don't. I have the resolution. Because of this increase in indirect costs, can you give me that number one more time on what your need is to fully fund? I'm looking at Exhibit E. So what's the unmet need of the Office of the Prosecutor that you used that last year's general funds were used, but now you're unable to because of the indirect costs? That's my question, Chair, so that I can look at Exhibit E and at least have that on our list of unmet needs. Thank you, Chair.
Issue with this, so I'll defer to Ms. Jennifer Henry.
Thank you, Delegate Crotty. So we were allocated $589,805 less than last year. Our unmet needs budget in Exhibit E or Form E is $714,000. $669,010 of that would be used exclusively for personnel. The other is $45,029. What we were hoping to get to meet our operating costs, because due to the decrease, we have to give up 3 tribal vehicles, and we cut not just by 50%, but we cut many of our vacant positions down to 1/4 or only like less than half the year. So our total unmet needs that we're requesting is $714,039.
Okay, so back to Shimon, Delegate Crotty. Does that satisfy your answer, your question?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Hill. I think at this point, that's the best that we can do at this point. So I'm not sure, is that a directive when we're asking for Exhibit E form? Please just let me know what does that look like, and I think if we can develop legislative concern language that the indirect cost formula in dealing with Department of Justice and its impact on the Office of the Prosecutor, that should be, with all of these years collectively on this call, somebody in the room should have known that would hurt the Office of the Prosecutor because of the federal limitations that Mr. Rodas from DOJ mentioned. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you for that response again. So back to Ms. Henry. Do you have Exhibit E is available?
I do, and I don't have it as Exhibit E, but I do believe that the unmet needs budget was submitted. I'm looking at budget forms 1, 2. I'm looking at the entire unmet needs budget package that was submitted. And I'm hoping that it was submitted through LOC to Budget and Finance.
Mm-hmm.
And if not, I can certainly send it over. I don't know if Peggy has that.
Okay, with that, back to the committee. I believe Delegate Crowdy, that you mentioned the legislative concern with regarding this unmet needs. Is that your motion to legislative concern regarding the unmet needs for the prosecutor's office?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I can, if I may, and if I'm in order, that could be the legislative concern is the impact of the office of the prosecutor. I still need to know, Chair, who is in the room when this IDC is distributed. I don't know if there's a formula, but it looks like every year that percentage is changed. And so I just need to know who are the decision makers in allocating IDC to the Navajo Nation programs. Thank you.
Chair,
so this should go to the OMB, and I believe OMB is requesting to speak. Is this Ms. Arvizo?
yes.
Go ahead, Ms. Arvizo.
The way the percentages for the IDC allocation is based on the audited Navajo Nation financials. So for 21, that total expenditures for the Navajo Nation on 2017 amounted to $55,020,931,000. Prior year to that, it was 49.7, I believe. So the percentages vary according to the nation's audited financial amount. And we don't adjust those amounts. It's audited. The books are sent to IBC and everything is checked by them, by the evaluators, and that's how we come up with our IDC percentage. Chair.
Who are the evaluators?
At the Interior Business Center, they change every now and then. We get a different examiner that reviews the nation's proposal.
Okay, that adds more clarity to the question of who is in the room. Okay, thank you for that. Back to Delegate Crowdy.
Thank you, Chairman Henyo. Sumayaja, I understand Department of Interior. So are you talking about the IDC percentage, like the 18.7% that we recover? The percentage I'm talking about is how Navajo Nation, I don't know if Department of Interior is looking at our budget. So when Navajo Nation issues out the IDC, how do we develop that percentage? So this year, Department of Justice received more funding in IDC. Was that Department? I'm assuming Department of Interior is not reviewing this fiscal year comprehensive budget. That's my question, Chair. How is IDC amount dispersed amongst the Navajo Nation programs? If Department of Interior, okay, please.
The allocation, the IDC allocation is based on the nation's financials. So
yes, I understand that.
The total financials for the Navajo Nation was $55 million. Okay, based on all of that how the expenditures were broken down for the central service costs, there was a percentage for that. It amounted to 55 million. So those that were in the IDC pool, that's how it was. If you've seen the IDC allocation table, there's a description on how the percentage was derived at. We take the percentage divided by the 55 million, and that's how we come up with the individual percentage per program for office or division, those that are in the pool. I think you would get a better picture if you've seen the allocation table.
Chairman Henio, I have that document. Or the document I have is the Navajo Nation allocation and projected IDC recovery, fiscal year 2021 final. Yes, I see that. Thank you, Shamayaja.
Okay, column D, if you look at column D, the last line, line 59, you'll see the 55 million. And the column E is the percentage at 100%. So if you go to what we're talking, Office of the Attorney General, line 19, Business Unit 104001, we have expenditures of 4.6 million, and that equated to 8.42%. So based on dividing that percentage by the 55 million, you come up with the 1.8 allocation.
Thank you so much, Mayaja. I see that and I recognize that. And the point that I'm raising, Chair and members of the Budget and Finance Committee, is that this has created this form. Although I see your formula and I see how you do it, whoever decided on the Office of the Attorney General's budget did not take into consideration the policy implications. So they wanted, this is my opinion, so they wanted to keep the same number of general funds. And so when there was an increase in indirect costs, they reduced the general funds. But what that created was a restriction of the Office of the Prosecutor because they're not federally allowed to use IDC funds.
What's creating the problem?
So I need to know, and I'm going to be looking for general funds that the Office of the Prosecutor can use so that we're not decreasing or having an impact on our criminal justice system. And I think, I don't know who developed this budget or what staff were involved in determining this. In my opinion, that's a policy red flag. And my hope was by this point, someone would have fixed it for the program because our nation stands on improving our criminal justice system. But now I have the unmet need, and the only thing I could do is look at other budgets that are in the executive with general funds to cover this unmet need, because this office is the only office that can prosecute criminal offenders here on Navajo Nation. Thank you, Chair.
Kushina, with that.
Chairman Henyu, this is OMB.
Okay, we need to move forward. Go ahead.
Just really quickly, this is Darlene Sam from OMB. Just coming or adding to Mr. Bial's comments as far as the IDC and so forth. So what happened is last year for 2020, the approved budget for the 3 business units was $7,002,050. That included $100,000 that came from the personal savings fund that went to the Office of the Prosecutor. And then this year, they were allocated DOJ was allocated $6,374,091 and IDC of $1,893,724. So that together is 8.2. Compare that to $7,002,050. So the difference between those two is $100,000 that they lost because of the personal savings allocation. So when the DOJ got the numbers of what they need to get to be hitting for general funds of 6.2, it was up to the division directors, or in this case, it was the AG, how they would divide up the general funds. And the way they chose it, 5.1 went to the 1040-01, and that's an increase of 412,000 compared to 20. And then 1040-02 received 299,637, and comparing that to 20, it's 222,211, an increase of 77,000. And then 1040-05 prosecutors, they were given 2,802,156, which is a decrease of 589,000. So that's how the division allocated what was given to them by the president as the planning allocation of the general funds. Those are the additional comments, Mr. Chair.
Sheena, thank you for those additional comments. Committee members, any further questions or comments?
Chairman Henyo, this is Delegate Crotty. I hope is my last comment, and we do need to revisit, if I could ask Chair, I know that we have a long agenda, but we have to get this right. So if I could ask their OMB or DOJ on the line, here's like a legal beagle question. So does IDC maintain its character as federal funds when IDC is received by the nation? And then if not, can IDC be distributed to any program? I appreciate folks sending me, I'm reading the BIM, I get it. I see the IDC recovery, I get it. But if I could get someone, a policy person, to answer, this has impacted the office of the prosecutor, I just need some type of recognition. I know my legislative concern addresses that, but I see how this is detrimental to the program. Chair, thank you.
Okay, with this, back to Mel. Are you still on the line?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I don't know how to answer that question. It's not that recovered IDC maintains its federal character. It's that the nation's policy, the purpose of IDC is to spread it out and across central support service programs like OMB, OOC, and DOJ, just to name a few. And that's because those programs are supporting externally funded programs by providing services to them. And so it doesn't make sense to take recovered IDC away from a central support service program and give it to a program that doesn't support federally funded programs. And in the BIM, I'm just looking at page 20 of the FY20 BIM. I'm not sure what page it's on in the 21 BIM, but in the definition section here, it does explain, IDC rate base, and reimbursement and recovery. And so reimbursement and recovery is paragraph 19 on page 20. And the recovered IDC is to be allocated pursuant to the latest IDC rate proposal. And so that's what Ms. Arvizo was speaking about, is that the IDC pool was part of the proposal that Interior Business Center approved. And so we're representing to Interior Business Center. This is the IDC rate that we're entitled to. Here's our IDC pool. This is how we're going to allocate the recovered IDC. And so that's what we follow. So the reason I say the question is tough to answer is that I don't think that the nation has ever allocated recovered IDC to a program that's outside of the IDC cost pool. Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you for that, Mel, for that response. Okay, back to, I guess, OMB. One part of the question is what impacts, or maybe the AG's office or the Office of the Prosecutor. The question was, what kind of impact has this had on the operations of the prosecutor's office from a policy standpoint?
Chair, this is Doreen.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I did have to prepare a memo on this particular issue, and so when I get off the call, I will make sure that the committee receives that information with the increase and decrease and the impact on the program, including the public safety concerns. And I know that we're focused on the increase in the IDC allocation to DOJ, but from our perspective, from the program's perspective, I think that where the problem lies for us is not in the increase in IDC allocation, but rather with the decrease, the corresponding decrease in the general fund allocation. So, and I understand that that was a policy decision that I wasn't privy to, but that's where I think that we have the impact internally on our public safety program here in the Office of the Prosecutor, was less with the IDC allocation, but more with the corresponding general fund decrease. But I'll send that memo as soon as I get off the call here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that response. Back to the committee. Are we ready to vote on the?
Yes.
Okay, I don't hear any further comments. So with this, I'll get Jimmy Yellow here. I'll get Jimmy Yellow here.
Jimmy Yellow here.
Vice Chair Smith, Nanda. Vice Chair Smith. Okay, I'll go to Shema Delegate Amber Cotty.
Chair Henyo, are the legislative concerns intact?
If you wish to do a legislative concern, we could entertain it now through your motion.
Yes, I'm sorry, Chairman Henyo. Remember my legislative concern was the impact on the Office of the Prosecutor. And so I think if I need to give, and I'm sorry, Ms. Lowell, I need to know, is it this program that I give that legislative concern, or is that when we review, like, when I asked who was in the room when decisions were made, I don't know if OMB was in the room. I just need to know who made this decision, and that would be my legislative concern. So I could wait, Chairman. I'll vote green on this, and it's
okay. At the same time, Madam A.J. McFall stated that she would be writing a memo to the committee regarding the impacts, and maybe she could also include in her response of who was in the room, Madam A.J. McFall. Would that work?
Thank you, Chair. For the decision regarding the decrease in general fund allocation, is that the question?
The question is regarding the indirect costs, and at the same time, when the pool of money is allocated and distributed, who was in that room to make those determinations for the programs? Is I believe what the question is and the concern is.
Yes,
I don't have that information.
We have
Chair,
that breakdown. I'm asking
that.
who decided to reduce the general funds because you were getting more indirect costs? Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. So with this, were you able to capture that, Madam A.J. McFall?
Yeah, I understand the question better now, but I also still don't have the information. I wasn't privy to those decisions.
Okay, so what we'll do is this will be a legislative concern as requested by Delegate Crotty. And with this, Crispin, are you there?
I am, Chair.
Okay, so with this, listening on the conversation and the concern, are you able to generate a legislative concern regarding the topic that we're talking about now?
Chair, I don't have enough information on who it's directed to and what exactly whoever they are, would be presenting. I have written down impact on the Office of the Prosecutor of IDC, but that's not enough to craft legislative concern from. Chair.
Okay, back to you, Shimon Del Crotty.
Chairman Henyo, I'll withdraw my legislative concern because it sounds like it wasn't a decision from the program. But I'm going to put that in the parking lot, and as we should know, just as a side note, committee members, who's developing this budget. So if we could get that information as soon as possible, that'll help me develop the legislative concern regarding this specific issue. Thank you, Chairman. And I vote green. Thank you.
Okay, Shanna, thank you for that. Okay, we have green vote for Delegate Amber Crotty, Delegate Nathaniel Brown.
Delegate Brown votes green. Yeah.
Delegate Elmer P. Begay.
I vote green.
Going back up, Delegate Jimmy Yellowhair. Delegate Vice Chair Smith. Vice Chair Smith. Okay, we have 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Green. Not voting.
Green.
Vice Chair Smith votes green, so we have 4 in favor, and Chair not voting. And we shall move further on our agenda. Thank you, OMB and Madam A.J. McFall, Ms. Henry, for all being part of this discussion regarding the Department of Justice. Thank you. With this, let's move to the last item for Law and Order Committee's Office of Hearings and Appeals. Is Mr. Richie there? Richie Nez?
Nez reporting. Good afternoon.
Is this Richie Nez?
Yes, sir. This is Richie Nez.
Okay. Have you sent an email to Peggy Nakai affirming your oath for about the testimony regarding the testimony you're about to give?
I have, Your Honor, and I affirm by that oath also today.
Okay, send an email to Peggy Nakai, so we'll have it on record.
I did, sir.
Oh, okay, you got. I'll continue with this. So, Peggy, if you would read this legislation into the record.
Legislation LLC AU-07-20. Proposed Standing Committee Resolution 24th Navajo Nation Council, second year 2020, introduced by an action relating to Law and Order Committee approving and recommending to the Budget and Finance Committee the proposed fiscal year 2021 budget for the Navajo Nation Office of Hearings and Appeals. This legislation was electronically read into the record, and the exhibits are there, A through E, Mr. Chair.
Christina, thank you for that. OMB, do you have a budget summary report for Office of Hearings and Appeals?
This is Emmett Francis. I'm going to go through the OMB report, and I will go directly to Part A, the fund type summary. Business unit number 103004, Office of Hearings and Appeals for FY20. They had $342,000, and then in FY20, $482,583 in general funds, $99,973 in IDC funds for a total of $582,556. Just wanted to point out that the differences in 20 and 21 as far as the general fund, the FY20 does not include the indirect costs. So just be aware of that. And the program probably knows how much IDC is in FY20. Going on to Part B, the budget expenditure report for Office of Hearing and Appeals, original budget $582,556. Same for revised budget, and they spent $210,916.19. They have an encumbrance of $1,002.02, and the budget still to be spent $370,637.79 for an expenditure rate of 36.38. They should be much closer to 75%. They're way down low. Next is the performance, and I'll have Ms. McCabe go through that part of the report. Thank you.
Tab C, the program assessment report for business unit 103004, Office of Hearings and Appeals. First quarter is 3.0, second quarter 2.20, third quarter 1.40. Again, scoring is 3 is exceeding. Goals and measures, 2 is meeting goals and measures, 1 is not meeting goals and measures, 0 is no report. Moving on to tab D, plans of operation status report. Again, the statutory reference is there and it's outdated, and the year adopted is 1995. Moving to tab E, conditions of appropriation. The Hearings and Appeals has 1, that's LOC number 5. It indicates that the director for the Office of Hearings and Appeal is to report to the Law and Order Committee at the end of each quarter to discuss its performance scores. It was due through the fiscal year, and there was no response for the third quarter, therefore it is non-compliant. That concludes the OMB report, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you for that report. Committee members, there motion.
Motion, Delegate Begay.
Motion by Shenandoah, Delegate Elmer P. Begay. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Delegate Crotty will second.
Kashina Shenandoah, Delegate Amber Crotty seconds that motion. So we do have a motion and a second on this report. So with this, we'll entertain any questions to OMB on the budget summary report. If there's no questions, let's move forward to the program director's presentation. There with this, we do have Shenandoah, Madam Chairwoman of the Law and Order Committee, Eugenia Charles Newton, President. So if you would introduce this legislation to the committee.
Yes, sure. Shana, Honorable Hanyo, we do have the Office of Hearing and Appeals before the Budget and Finance Committee. You also have been sent the program budget summary. Last year, the Navajo Nation Council approved the original budget of $582,156. And the proposed budget for this year is $582,556, with a difference of $57,302. So that is not the exact budget that was introduced from last year's amount. The general funds, 83% have been provided in the funding source of $482,583, and then the indirect cost of $99,973. So with that, I believe there was no unmet needs. I have that in my notes. I also have that a new form is to be submitted. I don't recall seeing an email with the new form that has to be submitted, but I will go ahead and turn the floor over to my agents from the Office of Hearing and Appeals, who could probably provide you a little bit more information on the budget, and to also read the budget into the record. So with that,
That's what your
I'm
mom
handing
said.
over. I'm sorry, somebody's not on mute, but I'm going to go ahead and hand over the floor to the Office of Hearing and Appeals. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the Budget and Finance Committee. My name is Richie Nez. Ke ani the Nez Nido Torgat Nini na Kate Nash Zabat. Ashinalado Tachini da Suche. Look at here, Lolide Ade Nicha. Did hearings and appeals budget Kotone Tato Siga. Ako it actually ako de nota budget konada da be echo. I'll have my administrative assistant also introduce herself at this point.
Good afternoon. My name is Trudy Armijo. I'm the administrative assistant with the Office of Hearing and Appeals. And my clans are Tuhe, Glini, and Shlon, Kia, Ani, Bashichin, Tkat Nesakni, Deshiche, Tkat Chitni, Deshinala. Good afternoon, everyone. Looking at the budget summary report.
Ms. Armijo, hold on, if you would, hold on. Peggy, have you received the oath of affirmation from Ms. Armijo?
Did she send one to me?
Ms. Armijo, have you sent an email to Ms. Peggy Nakay, a one-liner affirming your oath to the testimony you're about to give regarding the budget?
Yes, I did. And she affirmed that she received it back on September 4th.
Okay. So September 4th, and I love Peggy. Last week.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Lindsay.
Okay. What, the budget that was presented to you and everything is correct except for, during the Law and Order Committee meeting, we were told by the Law and Order Committee that they did see a discrepancy on page 1 of Budget Form 1. And that was corrected and the new budget was sent out. So in column A, it should read 582,556. Then you move over to budget B, it'll read the exact same amount, $582,556. So from the Office of the President and Vice President, we got the same amount that we got last year. Let me go through the personnel expense. Back in 2020, we had 363,584. This year, the proposed budget is 371,944. Travel expenses, 35,354. Proposed budget, 54,295. Supplies, 63,050 this year. Proposed budget, 60,140. Lease and rental, 4,400. Proposed budget, 4,400. Communications and utilities, 400. Proposed budget, 1,550. Repairs and maintenance, 13,988. Proposed budget, 9,738. Special transactions, 39,213. Proposed budget, 25,166. Capital outlay, 62,167. Proposed budget, 55,323. Column A, 582,556. Proposed budget, 582,556. This year, we are budgeted for 5 positions, and we've actually requested for 1 vehicle. Thank you.
So is that the extent of your presentation?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Kashina. Okay, thank you for that. I'll defer to the committee for any questions or comments. Committee members, Office of Hearings and Appeals. Committee members, any questions, comments? Not hearing any, so what we'll do is we'll call for the question, Office of Hearings and Appeals. Delegate Jimmy Yellowhair. Delegate Jimmy Yellowhair. Vice Chair Smith.
Green.
Delegate Amber Crotty.
Delegate Amber Canos-Crotty votes green. Thank you.
Delegate Nathaniel Brown.
Delegate Brown votes green. Yeah.
Okay, Delegate Elmer P. Begay.
I'll vote green.
Okay, with that, we have 4 in favor, 0 opposed, Chair not voting, Delegate Jimmy Yellowhair not voting also. Okay, that takes care of Law and Order Committee. Chairwoman of Law and Order Committee, Eugenia Charles Miller, for being with us the whole day. And I am supporting the programs under your oversight.
Thank you all, Budget and Finance. Thank you.
Kashina, do we have Speaker Damon on the line? We have Speaker Damon. Anybody from Speaker Damon's office on the line?
Chairman, this is Tom Platero with Legislative Services.
Okay. If Speaker Damon will be joining us to introduce his legislation.
Yes, I'm getting them on the phone, sir.
Okay, thank you. Peggy, have you received the an oath and affirmation from Speaker Damon and any of the legislative branch staff, like Mr. Platero?
Mr.
I
Chair,
don't think so, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Tom?
Mr. Chair, we weren't aware of an oath thing. Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, there needs to be an email sent to Peggy Nagkai with the one-liner stating I, your name, hereby swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. You would send that email if you are going to be presenting the budget before being budget and finance. That's the usual practice every year. So this year we decided to do the email to put it on record. Committee members, we do not have representatives for the legislative branch budget, and I believe he's all Speaker Damon also is has legislation for the executive branch budget.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. This is Lashana Stowe, the Chief of Staff with the Office of the Speaker. I am on the line.
Okay. We are waiting for Speaker Damon to introduce this legislation. He's the sponsor of the legislation for Navikia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Speaker Damon is jumping on the call right now.
Okay, thank you for that. Also, I remind Speaker Damon to send an email to Peggy Nagkai and anybody from that will be presenting on this budget, affirming their oath to the legislation and the testimony they're about to give. Peggy, how many revisits do we have tomorrow?
I'd have to go through and see what I have on my list. Some it wasn't really clear if you wanted to revisit. there were questions about the exhibits to the legislations, to the resolutions.
We tabled, I believe, 2 of them so far.
Right. Right. That's right. You have 2 that are on table status, and then thus far there are.
Okay. For this committee members, it seems like there's no presenter from for the resolution legislation.
Motion to recess.
Recess for the day or how long?
I'm here now.
For the day.
Chair, I apologize. My call dropped. This is Peggy.
Okay. Somebody motion to recess. Is this Delegate Elmer T. Begay?
Yeah, for the day.
Okay, Shane, is there a second?
Second, Vice Chair Smith.
Vice Chair Smith, second. Committee members, any questions, comments regarding motion to recess? Tenoya, call for the question. Delegate Jimmy Yellow here. Vice Chair Smith.
Green.
Shemont Delegate Amber Crotty.
Delegate Amber Canas-Crotty votes green. Thank you.
Delegate Nathaniel Brown.
Delegate Brown votes green.
Yeah, Delegate Elmer T. Begay.
I vote green.
Okay, 4 in favor. Is there opposed? Chair not voting. Delegate Yellow Hair not voting. We are in recess. So tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, we'll begin with the 2 Nabikias legislation.
Okay.
Have a good evening.
All right, Chairman, this is Speaker Damon. We'll be ready then.
We'll be starting at 9 o'clock. And make sure you send your oath to Peggy and all your presenters.
Be on time, Speaker. I'll be on time. Just kidding, Speaker. Good afternoon.
Good night. Tomorrow.
So, Chair, this is Delegate Brown. So we are recessed for the day, right?
Oh, recess for the day till 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
It's just